Hello and welcome to Craft with Sarah. In today's Design Space tutorial, I'm going to show you how to make your own custom heartbeat images in Design Space. I'm going to show you 3 different techniques. The first is using a simple silhouette image like this paw print. The second is how to use an image that has white space in it, so for example this football where it's got the cutout sections on the edges. And then finally I'm going to show you how to make heartbeat images with words. Let's get started. Open up Design Space and click into Images. I'm going to search for heartbeat. And this shows you just how popular this heartbeat style of design is because there's so many different ones as you scroll down with lots of different themes to it. But we're going to create our own. So right near the top there's a little yellow heartbeat all on its own with no decorations. That's the one we want, so click on that one and then Insert Images. Now this is only one half of the heartbeat at the moment, so we need to make it on the other side as well. I think these lines are a little bit all squidged up too close together, so I'm going to click the padlock to unlock them and then just change the size a little bit so that they're not quite as all squidged in together. Now that I'm happy with that, I'm going to click it again, right click and press duplicate, and that's made a copy of that heartbeat. I want the heartbeat lines to be on the other side, so go to flip and then flip horizontal. And now we have 2 different heartbeat images. So I'm going to line them up together a little bit. And we've got a really big gap at the minute, but we're going to fix that later. Okay, so go into Images again and find what you want to put in the middle. For my first example, I'm going to choose a paw print. Here it is. So resize it however big you want it to go and just place it into the middle of the heartbeats so that on one side you've got the amount of that straight line you want to appear. So I don't want all this empty space, so I'm going to need to crop this part so that it doesn't have so much of a line. Go into Shapes and choose Square. And then drag it over on top of the heartbeat image. Click the padlock icon so you can change the perspective of the square, and just click and drag to move it until it covers up the bulk of that straight line. With that rectangle selected, press Ctrl on your keyboard and choose the heartbeat, and then go down to the bottom and click Slice. What that's going to do is cut everything under that rectangle out of the heartbeat line, and it gives you some things called slice results, and we don't want these, so we can right click and delete. And once you've deleted 3 times, you'll then see you've been left with just that part of the heartbeat. We need to join this to the other part so that it perfectly lines up. So bring it over and use your mouse to just vaguely line it up where you want it to go. Now at the minute, if I zoom in, you can see it's not perfect. It doesn't quite line up right where I've put the 2 bits together. So to make it perfect, click on one of the bits of heartbeat, press Ctrl on your keyboard and choose the other one. So now we have both of those heartbeats selected. Under Align, press Center Vertically. And what that will do is it's moved them both so that they now perfectly line up. So those 2 bits of the heartbeat are perfectly aligned. Okay, so what we need to do now is we need to weld these bits of heartbeat together. And that means it's going to glue them together. So instead of 2 bits, it'll just be 1. So I click Weld. You can see now it moves together as one. And it doesn't have that join line anymore. It's just one continuous piece. Okay, so to complete the heartbeat effect, we need to make these the same color. So I'm going to go into colors and I'm going to make it black. And then the same for the paw print. I'm just going to make that one black as well. And this is nearly finished, but if we were to cut this just as it is, it's going to cut that whole paw print out separately. To stop this from happening, we need to use the weld tool again. I'm just going to duplicate my heartbeat line because I'm going to use that in a minute to show you a different design and I don't want to have to make it again. So you don't need to do that step, But what you need to do is select your original heartbeat line, press Ctrl and choose the paw print, or you can click and drag a box around them to select both the layers, and then we're going to go down the bottom and press Weld. And that's now all one piece, so when you cut it with your Cricut, it's going to cut it out as one continuous piece all the way along, which is what we want. Okay, so that is the most simple version of our heartbeat done, and that's with using a solid silhouette image in the middle. But what if your image has white space in it? We don't want the heartbeat line to cut through it, as that'll look a little bit messy. So I'll show you how to fix that. I'm just going to turn on the one that I duplicated earlier, and in fact I'm going to duplicate it one more time and hide that, because in a minute I'm going to show you how to do the heartbeat images with words. But for now, let's go back into images, and this time I'm going to search for football. I'm going to choose this one here because I want one with white space on it, so empty space in the design, to show you how to do this. So here's my football, and if I put that in the middle, you can see the heartbeat line is cutting through, which looks a little bit messy. So when you do this, depending on the type of image you use and where the white space is, you might want to get rid of that heartbeat line that's cutting through, just to make it more complete when you look at the image and to stop that kind of cutting it effect that that line's giving. Now we've already welded that line, so it's one piece. So what we need to do is slice out the horizontal line that's cutting through our image. Go into Shapes and choose a square. I'm going to make it a bright colour so it's easier to work with, and then move it over above the football and click the padlock icon. And now I can change the size, so I want to put it over the football so that it's covering all the bits of that horizontal line that I want to cut out. So in this case it's just this bit that's cutting through the middle of that gap. So I'm going to put that one on there, and then I have my square layer selected, so the yellow square. Press Ctrl on your keyboard and choose the heartbeat. Make sure you don't choose your image, so not the football, we want the heartbeat line. Again, click Slice down the bottom and delete those first 3 slice results. And there we have it. Now if I hide the football, you can see what we've done. We've sliced that square shape out, so there's a gap in it now. So the football now sits nicely on top, and it doesn't have that line going through the white bit. Now once again, we need to weld this to stop it cutting the edges of that football and destroying our heartbeat line. So select the line and the football, and I'm actually just going to make sure they are both black, which they are. Good. So select both those layers and then press Weld. And there we have our second heartbeat image done. But what about if you want to add text to a heartbeat line? Well, you can do that as well, although it is a little bit more involved than the other two that we've just done. Alrighty, so to add text to the middle is a few more steps, but first click into text. Type in the text that you want to appear and choose your font. So mine's already in a nice script font because it's remembering that's what I used a minute ago when I was testing this. But to choose a font, select the text and go into this drop down at the top, and then you can either choose from all fonts, which includes some Cricut default fonts and the ones on your computer, or you can click System to just look at the ones on your computer. Now if you don't have any suitable script fonts, there are loads of places online that you can get them, and I will put some links in the description of this video so that you can go and find where you can get script fonts, including some resources where you can get them for free. So a script font is one that looks like handwriting, and it's got lots of nice swirly bits, and that's going to fit best with our heartbeat line. So I'm just going to choose that same one again. So this one's called Angel Heart, and if you want this exact font, again there's a link in the description. Now when you use script fonts, the letters are all supposed to be joined up, which is why it looks so good on a heartbeat line, because it will form one continuous line. However, Design Space doesn't really like script fonts. So whenever you make something with a script font like this, it puts these weird big gaps in between all the letters. So before we add this to our heartbeat, we need to fix those gaps. Click on your word, and then at the top you've got a box which says letter space. Change that to 0 and press enter. And that's done a pretty good job at moving all our letters close together, but they're still not quite touching, so that's not quite what we want it to be. So we need to do a little bit of extra work here. Click on your word, and then over in your layers panel, right click on that layer and press ungroup. This has changed it, so now every single letter is its own layer, which means we can click and drag each letter and move them so that they're all touching. There we are, so now all my letters are nice and touching. So I'm going to select them all again and press weld to rejoin them. There we go. Now sometimes when you re-weld script letters it doesn't quite work out, so I'm just going to undo this, make it small. So if you're trying to do it small and you press weld, you might get this happen. So you can see it's filled in that space in the O. If I just make it bigger, you can see it's filled in that gap, which looks really messy, and that's not what we want. So if your word does that when you try and weld it, select all of the letters and then make them really big and then press weld again. And that time, now it's big, it's not going to fill in the gaps. So that's an easy way to fix your script fonts if they aren't welding properly. Alright, so now this is ready to add to the heartbeat. Let's just move it down. So I'm just going to place this where I want it to go. So I want it to look like the line is forming that part of the L. And then when it gets to the end of the E, my E is rejoining that horizontal line on the heartbeat. So that is, I think, where I want it to go. I might just move it over a bit. But this looks pretty messy at the moment because we've got this horizontal line cutting through the letters, which we don't want. So again, we're going to fix this using slice. So go into shapes and choose square. Make it a nice bright colour so it's easier to see, and then untick that padlock so that you can resize it. And this time we're going to put it over that line, horizontal line, and it's going to cover the whole of the words right up until the E. If I zoom, I'm going to zoom in quite a lot to see this properly on the E. I want it to go right to that corner where the E rejoins the horizontal line. There we are. Alright, so just like we did before, we've got the square selected. Hold down Control on your keyboard and choose the heartbeat, and then press slice. Delete those first 3 slice results. And now we're left with the heartbeat and the word looking pretty good, but it's still not perfect, and that's because of that E again. So you can see if I zoom in, it's just looking a little bit messy because the tip of the E isn't quite lining up with that horizontal rule. We can fix that by doing another slice. So I'm going to choose a square again, make it a nice bright colour, and then make it really small. And then I'm going to rotate it. So I'm cutting the horizontal line again, but I want to cut it so that it's in line with the swoosh on the E. So I'm going to rotate that so that it you can see it's following the line of the E, and it's going to cut that out of the horizontal bit of the heartbeat to just make it look a little bit neater. So select the square and the heartbeat, press slice. That didn't really help because it moved everything. Delete the first 3 slice results, and now that's looking much better against the E. It's still perhaps a little bit out, and if that's the case, the easiest thing to do is zoom out again. I'm going to cut the heartbeat in half. So if I just hide the word, you can see it's already kind of cut in half. So I'm just going to slice it in 2. Oops, no, I just undid too many then. There we go, sliced in 2, and then just select it and move it in a bit. There we are. So now that's looking a lot better against the E. So that's nearly finished now. The last thing we need to do is just to weld everything together so that it all cuts as one. So select your layers, press weld, and there we have it. Our word heartbeat is done. So now we have all 3 finished. So we started with a simple silhouette image. Then we went through how to do an image with white space in it. And then finally, how to make a heartbeat icon from words. So I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my YouTube channel for loads more Cricut Design Space tutorials. Thank you for watching.